Hey friends, welcome to my channel. I'm AmandaMuse, and today's video is a very special one. I'm going to be reacting to my labor and delivery story for my firstborn child, who actually, on the day that this video goes live, will be turning 11 years old. Like, I can't. 11? I have been mothering for 11 years. It's wild to me. It is absolutely wild. I am in a very delicious chapter of motherhood. For those of you that have children, that have older children, so my son is 8, my daughter is going to be 11, she is 11. It's a new world, man, and it is freaking awesome. This whole golden years of parenting, they call it. There's a reason for it, and it's magical. So without further ado, let's watch this video.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. I'm going to talk to you guys today about my birth experience with my daughter Esme. She was born 7.5 months ago, and my intent for this video is to share my experience and hopefully offer support for moms out there. Sometimes your birth plan doesn't go according to your wishes, and that's ultimately what happened with us. We went in there expecting to have
I already, I'm having such a hard time just listening to myself. Excuse the fast cuts. Those were the days where, when you're a new creator, you're so worried about perfection and not making human mistakes. So it's gonna bother me, but here we go.
Natural birth experience via a water birth and ended up having an emergency C-section. I didn't even want to go there because I didn't want to bring that kind of energy into my life. It ended up going that route, and I feel like it went...
Oh, I skipped over it. I was absolutely terrified of a C-section, I gotta be totally honest. I wanted a water birth, I was doing hypnobirthing. I was just not in the frame of mind that a C-section was even an option. And in my mind, I will say, my very naive first-time mom mind, and at the time, 11 years ago, natural birth was the only way to do things. There was a lot of judgment around how we birthed our babies. There was a lot of judgment around how we birthed our babies. I feel like there still might be judgment, but we're having more conversations about all birth is real birth. There was something in my mind. This was a very sad woman who did not have the birth experience that she wanted.
Way better than I had actually anticipated, and I know that a C-section can be really worrisome for a lot of soon-to-be moms. Basically, I just want to shed some light on the positive aspect of our birth experience via an emergency C-section, and hopefully just be able to offer some support for moms out there who are still dealing with a traumatic birth experience. I warn you, this could be a lengthy video simply because it is a birth experience and there's a lot that goes into it. It was our intent to have as natural a birth experience.
That was abrupt.
Fortunately for us, where we're living, there is an OBGYN who has brought water birth to our part of the world. And so we got in touch with him and started the process on working towards a water birth experience. Just short and sweet about my pregnancy, I was very fortunate. I feel like I had a very easy pregnancy. I was healthy throughout. I put on a ton of weight. I mean, what are you gonna do? I think naturally we're predisposed to putting on a certain amount of weight. But I put on 60 plus pounds. All I know is when I saw 200 pounds on the scale, I stopped counting. Thankfully, they operate in kg out here, so it didn't seem so terrible. Still, after 200 pounds, I was just you know what, this baby's coming eventually and I will lose the weight. 7.5 months later, I am about 10 pounds shy of my pre-baby weight. I am totally fine with that. Minor aches and pains. I had some rib pain. I peed every 5 minutes. I was sleeping towards the end of pregnancy gets uncomfortable, but I imagine this to be sort of common throughout most people's pregnancies. And so at 39 weeks pregnant, my doctor did a check of my cervix and ended up doing a cervix sweep. So he swept the membranes, which, as you know, essentially can start the process of labor. I had been experiencing some Braxton Hicks.
Not sure why he had to do that. In hindsight, I think her due date was December 11th and she showed up on the 8th. Didn't go as according to plan, as you're gonna find out. But yeah, I don't know if a sweep was necessary. I was so uncomfortable. I feel like there's more info about that now. I don't think, do people still do that now? Let me know in the comments.
And the night before my doctor's appointment, I felt like I was having contractions, and I thought, maybe this is like pre-labor. So when I went into the doctor's that day, I hadn't dilated, and he said, you know what, we'll just do a sweep, and if anything, it'll just help speed up the process a little bit. And at that point, I was okay with that. Noon, I started to experience some contractions. I had the exercise ball, and so I definitely found some relief sitting on the ball. I would say I was having an contraction once every couple of hours, and then as the evening went on, it was sort of once every hour, and then half an hour, and then I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to be having a baby. We were timing the contractions, and they were coming once every 15 minutes or so. And I know they say, every 5 minutes or something, then go to the hospital. But we thought, let's just go, see where we're at. Is this even labor? Let's see what's going on. I mean, it's our first baby. We don't know what to expect. I had it in the back of my head that there was this potential that we could be sent. Anyhow, we get to the doctor.
Can I just say, topic aside, I am so cute. Look at that little version of me. I was living in Malaysia, didn't have a lot of friends yet. Look at my beautiful natural brown hair. It makes me kind of want to go back to that color, I gotta be honest. And I love how even then, back then, my goal was still always to provide this info for mothers and to make mothering and parenthood not seem as scary as some people like to say it is or whatever. Kind of still remains true to this day. So let's keep going.
And they checked me, and sadly there was no dilating. The part that I found got us a little bit miffed when it comes to my confidence, when it comes to laboring, is this nurse sort of looked at me and was like, you're not dilating, you're barely having any contractions, why are you even here, type of thing. And the first thing in my head was like, oh my god, I was in pain. If I can't deal with this, how am I going to experience a real contraction? Part that I feel a little bit disappointed with this particular group of nurses that helped us that first night, that they really didn't take into consideration how vulnerable I was as a first-time mom, how hormonal I was as a very pregnant woman. There is the potential that it was a cultural misunderstanding, though I feel that kindness is across cultural. Had the nurse been maybe a little bit more gentle with me, I wouldn't have felt so insecure. Anything I can offer a first-time mom out there is just be confident that you're going to do fine. Your body knows what to do. Doctor did come in shortly after, check me and say,
isn't that such a lesson? How we are made to feel at the time that we are birthing our babies is so powerful. And you will note through this story, my confidence does waver. I hope I don't get too emotional as I watch it. It really I forget sometimes that experience. We kind of brush over the difficult stuff and only remember the good things and hey, a baby, but there were some hard moments, but there is something to be said about that. Maybe that's where a doula comes in, and a doula reminds you and steadies you again and kind of brings you back. I wish I had that. That wasn't an option. But yeah, really important piece of laboring.
You're welcome to stay. You are in pre-labor. You're experiencing some contractions. They're just not as strong as they need to be to get things dilated. We thought, well, we don't want to sit in a hospital. I'd rather be at home in the comfort of my own home with access to food and comfortable. Esme was actually facing up, so she was spine to spine with me, and what I read is that can cause very severe pre-labor pains and labor pains in your lower back. I didn't realize how much it actually changes the course of your labor because it was extremely painful. That night was I'm
not even sure I'm going to be able to handle this part of the story. Those sunny side up babies, that's a whole different kind of labor, okay? Where's my medal?
I will never forget. I couldn't lay down. I was definitely in labor. My contractions would not let me lay flat. That was just not an option. I ended up sitting on the couch, and every time I had a contraction, I just about broke my husband's fingers. Tried to jump up off the couch, giant belly. That's not really an option. When I had that contraction, I just wanted to be up, move my toes, move my legs, do something. I think too, I was feeling stress. Sometimes stress can aggravate your contractions. I felt like I was nervous for this birth. Definitely let my insecurities take over. 4 a.m. I simply passed out, I think, from sheer exhaustion. A little bit of rest, I think.
100% I passed out. I am not kidding when I say that every time I had a contraction, so I had a foot up on a chair. I remember this. I would have to get up and then move around because your body, but you're so damn tired. This went on for the whole night. I remember, I don't know if I said it here, but I remember Dean vividly looking at me and being like, I was holding his hands and he was like, can I just have a nap in between this next contraction? That is It was a rough night. Okay, moving on.
2 or 3 hours. My darling husband was asleep next to me on the couch. I'm not certain he got any rest because I was squeezing his hand every 15 minutes. We were ready to abandon our natural birth plan. Nothing would really ease the pain. We tried to take hot showers and let the hot shower run on my back. My husband was massaging my back. I tried to sit on the exercise ball. That was a no-go. I have a feeling it's because Esme was facing up. About 9 or 10 in the morning, I started to experience what I thought was probably a bloody show. Not to go too graphic here, but it looked like a monthly cycle. And so I was like, okay. With my OB, we were SMSing, sort of giving him updates. We texted him and he said, you are dilating, time to pack up your stuff and come in. This is the real deal. And I remember there's like this rush of emotion that comes when you realize like it's go time. You're about to meet your baby. You've been thinking about what they look like, what are they gonna smell like, all these exciting things, and then you're realizing, holy crap, I gotta push this baby out. We're standing in the hallway.
I got a puppy. Come here. It's my new baby. This is Dolly, by the way. I don't know if I've had a formal introduction on YouTube, but she's all over my Instagram. How are you? Oh, she's little. Want to sit with me? Okay, we'll sit together. Let's watch this video.
Okay, goes like, I can't do it. And my husband's holding me, and I'm sure he wasn't smiling because I probably would have decked him, but I'm sure in his heart he knew it was kind of a funny moment because here I was like, you know, you building up to this 40 weeks of being pregnant and then you're like, no, I don't want to. So, oh, hormones. We went back in that bumpy car ride, got to the hospital, got in the room.
I forgot about that.
Built because we were planning to have a water birth, and when he checked me, I thought, please let me be dilated. 5 centimeters dilated. Got into the tub. Oh, what a relief. That hot water on your back was just so nice. And the doctor said to us, well, you should have a baby in the next like 2 or 3 hours. I think it was about noon, and so I expected to have my baby out by 3, 4, 5 p.m. I'm still in the damn tub. At this point, my energy level is like plummeting. I was experiencing contractions like every 2 minutes or so, so that was a bit intense. I was dilating nicely, and then I think because I was getting so tired, I stopped dilating so quick, and it took a while to get from 7 to 9 centimeters. I was between 9 and 9.5 or something, and it wouldn't go any further. At that point, the doctor said, okay, we got to try to speed things up. They ended up giving me some of that hormone that they insert to speed up your contract. At that point, I started to feel nervous because now
So that was, I don't know, is it Pitocin? It's like a gel or something. Honestly, at that point, like I have no idea what was going on. But I was like in that damn tub for so long. Yeah, that I was like, just do anything, get this baby out. But I was losing steam, friends. I was losing the battle here.
Trying to focus on the positive, but I will say that I was very tired at that point. I started pushing.
Dolly.
Didn't really do much.
Dolly.
They ended up taking me out of the tub, which, that was not fun. I was also starting to experience very heavy contractions because they had given me that hormone to speed them up. This is the point in my labor where I just feel like things could have gone differently. Like there's all these things that play in your head, I think, when your birth plan doesn't go according to how you want it.
So distracted. I have my 2 dogs in here.
And you go like, in hindsight, could I have done this, could I have done that? I will say that it was really uncomfortable. She was facing up. They try to get through like this part of your head, which is bigger rather than the back part. Her beautiful noggin would not come down the birth canal. Long story short, they ended up trying to use some interventions, like they used the vacuum. That didn't work. It was really not pleasant when you're drug-free, I'll just tell you that much. It got to the point where nothing was happening. The baby's heart rate started to plummet a bit, and that's when we decided.
Okay, I kind of skipped over that very traumatic part because I was early days of processing all of that. But yeah, so here I was like drug-free in that tub, basically like I was sinking in the pool, and Dean was just like, this is ridiculous. So the doctor and the nurses were like, we got to get moving on this. So then, yeah, when oh my God, to get me out of that damn pool. And I'll say, like, I couldn't get from my back to my front. Like, I wonder, and I still wonder to this day, had I been able to get onto my knees and like release the pressure from my back, how would that have impacted me? But oh, I tried so hard, but I couldn't, like, I kind of, you know, and you're big, you're pregnant. So when I was in like this position on the edge of the pool, nope. I needed like all 4s, but I like couldn't get there. I was so uncomfortable. Oh my God. They also used a vacuum. They used forceps. She was nearly out, but I had nothing left in the tank, guys. Nothing left in the tank to get her out. I'm sorry. This puppy is like a baby. Just seep. Just seep.
point, all I could say to everybody was drugs, drugs. When I do talk to other moms that have had regular births, when their babies are facing the right way, they don't complain about the lower back pains. A lot of times the baby will turn on their own during labor. It was a matter of minutes before they had me in the operating. Unfortunately, the hospital that we were at, my husband couldn't.
Okay, I skimmed over a bit of a part here. So basically, like, there was a part, so they're doing all these things to try to get the baby out, and all of a sudden I'm pretty much like in and out of consciousness. I am so exhausted. This was like 22 hours, right? Laboring at home, then laboring in the hospital. It was absolutely, okay, puppy, what are we doing here? When they checked the baby's heart rate, because the baby's heart rate was not coming back up, finally, and I clearly remember this, Dean was like, that's enough. It's time for a C-section. Like, what are we doing here? So it wasn't even the doctor who recommended it. And I was really mad about that for a long time. Like, I just was so desperate to have this natural birth experience in order to do it the right way. Like, what? You know? And I really had a lot to work through afterwards, which honestly was the start of my channel. Like, this is why I started my channel. A huge part of it was to connect with women who felt like that when I had my baby, and to help support them. But yeah, so anyway, I was prepared for surgery like this. So into the surgery room we go, soaking wet, by the way. It was so cold. I was so cold. And I'm alone. Again, I talk so quickly and the edits are so tight because it was an emergency and I'm in Malaysia at the time. My husband couldn't come into the room with me, so he literally is waiting outside the room like some old movie from the 50s. It was super weird. So I'm by myself. I'm freaking terrified, okay? Terrified.
My doctor and the other doctors that were there were so kind. I mean, I remember when they wheeled me in, I was looking around and I asked the anesthesiologist to hold my hand. So he was holding my hand here, and then the pediatrician was holding my hand here, and I was very grateful for their kind. Epidural was very quick. They had the baby out in just a few minutes. She was born at 6 p.m. on the nose. When they took Esme out, she had actually really...
Oh my God, I skimmed over the funniest part about my about my labor story. So... okay, when you're in the throes of contractions, people who have been there, you know, it's like you have this girl. Anyone got a puppy? Anybody want a puppy? But it's like so when you're having, you can't think or stop them or do anything other than focus on that contraction, okay? So as they're wheeling me in and they're trying to get this epidural situation, they're like, you can't move. Pardon me? What do you mean I can't move? You also can't push. I was like, oh, I'm pushing. Like, I couldn't not push, right? But anyway, so when the guy comes to put the needle in my back, my doctor, my OB, hands me a pillow to hug. And he says, hug this. Well, as I go to hug it, I actually somehow scooped him in too. So we're literally like hugging and we're like forehead to forehead. And he's like, it's fine, I'll stay here. My OB in a bear hug. Honestly, I'll never forget that to this day. He was the best. Dr. Narinder. Oh my God. Makes me want to tear up. When we stepped back after it was in there, his glasses were all fogged. But I tell you, once those... Madam, I know you're so sad. This is Dolly, by the way. Dolly needs to do something else with her life. I'll be back. Perks of an 11-year-old. She now has the puppy. But that whole like, and I probably didn't say anything because I think I was still a little bit embarrassed. Like I didn't realize the humor of that moment. It was so ridiculous. But once those drugs, and I could stop feeling that back pain that I had been in for 22 hours. It was the most glorious feeling of my life. My whole body relaxed. And that's probably a huge takeaway. Like, I'm not here to tell you how to have your babies, but caveat, that epidural relaxed me so much that I really struggled after having had Esme about whether or not, if I had gone the normal route and just had an epidural when most people have them, I wonder how I would have birthed her, because I was like in no pain, you know? So anyway, let's see what else I gotta say.
bowels after they'd taken her out, like not in. And that was definitely a sign of stress that she was under, because she'd been in the birth canal for quite a while. She was breathing like she'd run a marathon. She was like, one of the most beautiful things is the smell of your newborn baby. It was like, anyway, everything you read about is true. Like, they smell amazing. It was so cute and chubby and pink and beautiful dark hair. It was just one of the most amazing experiences ever. Where things went a little bit weird is nobody worried me. The doctor said, we're just going to take her away, we're going to do a couple tests and this and that. So I just tell my husband, make sure he's with her, I'll be fine. Sort of come down from the craziness that this birth experience had been. She had been breathing quite panting, and so they put her on an apnea machine, not oxygen but just forced air, having to put an IV in her. It was very sad because she's so little. 12 hours later though, she was fine. She breastfed beautifully. So we're very lucky in that sense, because what I'm trying to focus on is really when it doesn't go according to plan and how you kind of react. I did shed a bunch of tears. When I woke up after surgery, after I finally rested, I had a really hard time falling asleep, I think, from just all the stress. The hardest parts that I'm still struggling with right now is I didn't get to see her until 6 the next day type of thing. Like, it was a good 12 hours before it's actually gotten to hold my babe. I still I get a big lump in my throat when I think about that. I woke up in the middle of the night and I've had my baby. Where is she? I looked at my husband, who was sleeping in a bed beside me, jolted him awake and made him run down the hallway in his pajamas with the video camera, and he was taking video footage of her so I could look at her. Not everything's going to be a positive experience with this when you go from having a natural birth plan to an emergency C-section. There's variables that you can't control.
Ooh, that part is hard to listen to. Yeah, I definitely kind of brushed over that part. It was quite scary. And this is where, when I've kind of gone through the emotions with you right now, when I feel that shame, I wish it had gone differently. I could have done something to make my labor have been different. 11 years out, I still feel that deep in there. It's when I hear that, I forgot. Yeah, when she came out, she was in the NICU for 12 hours. She couldn't catch her breath. She didn't need oxygen, but she just needed forced air to help her regulate her breathing. She was under stress. There are very negative outcomes that can happen when a child is in the birth canal for too long. I'm not going to get into it here, but stuff happens to mothers and babies at the time of birth. And so I'm grateful for advancements in technology and medicine that I was able to come out of there with a nice little C-section scar and a baby and go home and heal, But there is that invisible, that invisible burden, that invisible wound that we carry when we have our baby and we feel something wasn't right, And I think the whole messaging I try to share here is you will heal. There are ways to heal, and it's also you're super validated if you felt those things. It's okay to feel those things. I feel sometimes we don't want women to share their stories, or we don't want women to talk about how they felt hurt in those moments, because you should be grateful that you have a baby, and you know what? No. You can feel two things at the same time. You can feel this gratitude for having a beautiful baby, and you can feel, this sadness and this grief for the loss of the birthing experience you wished for and you longed for. This is like a therapy session. I feel a bit emotional because I want to hug that sweet woman, because she doesn't know how much of a kick-ass mom that she's going to become. So this is a little therapeutic right now. Damn it. I always cry at birthdays, especially my kids.
Looking back on my birth experience, maybe I could have done more. I'm going to attribute most of that to hormones. But I also think it's, as a woman and as a mother, we're very difficult on ourselves. I have to take it and go, it was for both my and my daughter's health that we took this approach. And we're both healthy and fine now. When I looked at my body post-labor and was like, what the heck? Because you still look very pregnant when you've had a C-section. And of course you have that bandage over the scar area. You're thinking, I don't even want to go there. But recovery happened, one foot in front of the other. And just be easy on yourself. Things have a way of working out in the end. Your body heals and your heart will heal eventually too. Do your best not to focus on the negative, and you deserve just as much the pat on the back as anybody else. So that's my story, folks. Hope that it has shed some light.
Honestly, all of that. Look, I gave you the same damn speech and then I said it again, just with a little bit more time on my side. Yeah, there is just so many emotions that come with that experience. And it's amazing how even 11 years out, you can still like feel that flood of emotion, you know? It's so special. This is where being a content creator and sharing my life like this, it's amazing to have these memories, but also to see a version of yourself that seems like was me just yesterday, but actually, oh my goodness, so many life experiences, so many moments, so much growth, confidence gained. You know, I mean, just that part about the C-section bandage, I could not touch. I still have trouble with that part of my body. Like I struggle with it to this day. I could not run my finger along I could just like that feeling. Mind you, I don't like people touching my belly button either. So like maybe it's just that part of my body. I'm a little bit more, but yeah, that was something. What's really cool is if you've watched this video to the end, I did have a second child. He's pretty fabulous, and I had a very different birth experience. I did also have a C-section though, but it was not an emergency C-section. It was ultimately planned, and it was basically a failed VBAC. The child would not arrive, so then I was required to have a C-section, but it was extremely healing. So I'm gonna link that. I'm gonna link it below. Go check it out. Share this with people who might be having a C-section or who had one and you wonder if they might be struggling. I think it's a really weird kind of shame. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was fun to walk down memory lane. And if you want to wish Esme a happy birthday, hit me up on Instagram, send me a DM. I'm sure there'll be a video or a photo of her up on there, but you can't believe it, 11 years old. Pretty wild. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.